Hey guys, what's going on? I got my favorite stuff for you today, vintage science fiction. I've been accumulating it over the last couple months, finally have enough to show you. So, let's begin. I found a lot of these book club editions at a Goodwill a couple weeks ago. Here we got The Day of Their Return by Paul Anderson. You just can't beat this vintage science fiction cover art. Nothing compares today. Beautiful stuff. Got another Paul Anderson, The Merman's Children. Normally I leave the tags on these books because I'm paranoid that everyone on the internet is lying to you. So I like to try and get as much transparency as possible. But I'll show you the pictures here. The tags were just put right over the front covers. It was egregious, so I had to take them off beforehand. But I assure you they were all acquired from the Goodwill. This one, which is the art I like the most, honestly, from an author and a title I've never heard of before. But it looks like some futuristic space-age Ronin going across some plane and fighting these guys, helping these guys out. Little grimers, little slime monsters. I don't know, but that's the beautiful part about it. So I'm definitely keeping that one. That is kind of the issue here. I want to keep all the vintage science fiction I find. Here's a Robert Silverberg, The World Inside. I read Silverberg for the first time just recently. You'll see in a couple videos ago, I read a short story of his, and it was incredible. So I want to read more. I can't say that this cover really pulls me in. It seems just like a basic perspective drawing. But it's Silverberg, so I'd like to read it. We got Greg Bear, The Forge of God. Nice little heavenscape there. Greg Bear's another one. I have a number of books of his already. I hear a lot about him. I'd like to read them. We got The Minervan Experiment, James P. Hogan. A lot going on in this cover art. It's a thick one. I'd like to keep them all. I can't. I gotta figure out which ones I will and which ones I won't. That'll be the hard part. They'd Rather Be Right by Mark Clifton and Frank Riley. You think that's early computer art? Kind of looks like it. You ever seen the movie The Lawnmower Man? They have this weird AI art style. It looks exactly like that. I mean, I say AI art style as if that was a thing back then. But it looks like that, right? It looks AI generated. Beautiful. They actually had a lot more of those book club editions at the Goodwill, but I felt guilty of taking them all, so I left some there. And I know, we live in a capitalist regime and there's no need for that, but I always feel guilty. I feel strange to go in there and just suck up all the value and leave. Which makes me think I'm not in the right business, because I went to a book sale last weekend, a pretty big one. I got there maybe 15 minutes after it opened, and it's a madhouse. I don't know if you guys have been to these, but as soon as the doors open, people just rush in like it's Hunger Games, and people are spawning, and they just rush to the cornucopia, and they just start scanning madly, and they're territorial, and they're aggressive, and I know not all of them are like that, I know that, but certainly seems to be the trend. And I'm not like that at all, which is what I've talked about in the past, trying to balance the love of money and the love of books. I wouldn't even say I have a love of money, so it's more balancing the love of books with the need for money, right? And I realize that's what bothers me about that whole Hunger Games type situation. These people no longer have a love of books. Maybe they never had a love of books. They have a need for money, as we all do, and that's what's driving them. But it's something that I'm trying to avoid because, I'm trying to turn my passion into a business, and there's a risk with that, mainly the destruction of the passion. So I have to be aware, I have to be cognizant of things that can erode that passion. And that's one of them. So anyways, we'll get back to the show. I had an uncle who died before I really got to know him. But he was a huge proponent of these anthologies, Dangerous Visions, Harlan Ellison, as everyone was. When these were put out, it seems that everyone universally agreed, okay, this is the future of science fiction, this is where we're headed. And he knew that. He was a big science fiction guy. I wish I got to know him better. So in his honor, whenever I see one of these anthologies, I always pick them up. Which means I have 2 copies of, again, Dangerous Visions 1. And 3 copies of, again, Dangerous Visions 2. And I ask myself why. Why would I have 3 copies of this if I'm not going to sell 1 or 2? Like, I understand having 1 copy, maybe keeping the best condition copy, but why do I have this compulsion to keep 3 copies of the same book that I've already read? And with vintage science fiction, I don't like to sell it. I don't want to sell any of what I have here, but 3 of these? That's not okay, right? Like, that's where it becomes a problem, which is a whole nother yin-yang balancing act I'm trying to do here, is how much can I keep versus how much can I sell? And, you know, I'm really just selling books so that I can buy indiscriminately, but just like a drug dealer, when you're getting high off your own supply, that's when you have a problem, right? Does that analogy work here? I don't know, but I know that I probably have to sell some of these. We'll figure that out later. We also have this Easton Press edition of Hot House by Brian Aldiss, which was not $1 or $2, it was a little more expensive. But it was in this grimy plastic bag, and I think people were a little suspicious of it. But it is a fresh and new copy, illustrated. You've got my attention. This was a book on a free pile, Science Fiction Hall of Fame. It's a high school library copy. Last checked out January 12th, 1979. It's cool to have this in your high school library. I had nothing like that. And again, not 2 copies, but 3 copies. But also there's Volume 2B, or not to be, and Volume 4. So it's sparked my collectionism that I guess, you know, playing Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64 really had a big impact on my life. Here's the first Ace double I found. We got the Green Millennium and Night Monsters. I love these. I've seen them online, of course, a bunch of times, but this is the first one I've seen in person. Something about, I don't know, just the novelty of it. It's fun. And they have an ad in here to get this Treasury of Science Fiction book for 10 cents, which I have. It's kind of fun. Harlan Ellison, Alone Against Tomorrow. I think I've said how I feel about Harlan Ellison's writing. I'm not a big fan. I don't see the appeal to it, and I have a feeling that he was kind of like this socialite that had a lot of clout and power amongst science fiction people and publishers, so maybe there was some favoritism there, just because he was like charismatic. I don't know. People will probably crucify me for that. Got the Foundation trilogy here. Asimov. Beautiful vintage edition. Foundation and Empire. Second Foundation. Beautiful condition too, these books. And I love when they have different colored pages. It's just something about that screams vintage. It's awesome. Similarly, we got some Heinlein novels. Honestly, ones I've never heard of before. Beyond This Horizon. But I love this artwork. I love when they get a little abstract with it. The Menace from Earth. And Assignment in Eternity. We got some sci-fi staples here. The Martian Chronicles, Ray Bradbury. I wonder if, like, Bradbury himself designed this cover, because it's pretty egotistical to put, like, your upturned face on your novel's cover, you know? Like, maybe just because I haven't seen it before. Kind of turns me off to it. I mean, I read this novel. I love this novel. But come on, man. You know, make way for some artwork. Like, you can see the back here? That image behind his head. Beautiful stuff going on back there. But you just got this dude's face in the foreground. I don't know. Movie tie-in edition of 2001. Arthur C. Clarke. Classic. Although I would have much preferred if they just used this back image on the front. Can't go wrong with some retro spacecraft. Honestly, admittedly, I haven't read this particular Kurt Vonnegut, but I like that quirky outsider art they have on the front. And what I love most about this is the blue pages. Gotta love blue pages, right? Here's some random science fiction anthology. Really like the art on this one. It's got Asimov, it's got Heinlein, it's got them all. Looks like that man is the space station. Like it's you go in through his arm there, up some kind of tube or elevator. Awesome stuff. Here is really vintage short stories. Beyond Belief. This is from like the 40s, I think. Oh, 1966. It's just had a rough life, guys. Cut it some slack. And that's what I got. Good stuff, right? I wish I could have these all the time, but this stuff is few and far between at the thrift stores. I don't know if that's a recent trend or not, but I don't see it very often at all. But when I do, it's exciting. And you know, it's good when it doesn't happen too often because it's exciting when it does. Oh, thanks for watching. I'm almost finished with another 3 books and I'll upload my reviews. I think if I want to stay on track for my reading goal, I'm going to have to finish the book by the end of the week, but I'll tell you right now, it's not going to happen. But probably I'll have that video out next week. I'm building a bookshelf, got a video for that one. So subscribe and check those out when they are uploaded. Okay, thanks guys.